So I'm sure a few of you are wondering, why aren't we doing back to Eden gardening? Look who's out here again. It's Tom, who plowed our garden last week. Not only was he generous enough to come out last week and plow, but he realized that we had so many rocks that his rotary tiller couldn't get very deep on the upper portion of the garden. So he came back and brought an amazing tool. It's a bottom buster plow. It's a bladed plow that just cuts down and can cut through hard pan and cut kind of a deeper level in the soil. Here's the implement right here. He's done with it, but this blade, it's basically 2.5 inches wide, cuts down through the soil, and it goes about 2 feet deep. What a tool. So on this upper portion, he was able to actually loosen the soil down to 2 feet. It doesn't turn the soil, it just shifts it and creates air pathways and water pathways so that your soil is loosened down on a real deep level. Now he is going back over and rototilling it so there's a nice smooth surface on the soil.
Tom brought us some whole wheat berries to grind into flour today. The girls are pretty excited to watch this process. You want to watch too? You can?
So 1 cup will make almost 2 cups of flour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What do you think, Brighton?
So we'll let it run just a little bit. There we go.
When I was a kid, someone was like selling them or something.
So we're going to make more than that. I just didn't know how much.
That's
this I think will hold 12 cups, I believe. Do you have a container for that?
Oh, yeah.
Can I have a turn putting it in?
Yes, you can. I'll hold the bucket up so you can do it right where you're at. So the wheat berry, if you don't mill it, will last 2 to 3 years, including the nutritional value.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But once you mill it, it begins to lose its nutritional value very quickly.
So I'm sure some of you are wondering why we're not doing back to Eden gardening in our garden and we're plowing our garden instead. Well, first of all, what is back to Eden gardening? Back to Eden gardening is where you take something like these wood chips I got for free from the side of the road, you put them over your garden space, and then over the years they break down and your soil is always covered with organic matter. And then underneath, the lower layers decompose and join the soil, and you have a living soil. We're up here in the orchard area, and right here is an example of how back to Eden gardening works. We have wood chips and straw here, and what you find when you dig down is that the bottom of this layer has begun to decompose right here, and you find all kinds of life in there. There's a worm, there's little bugs, there's small sprouts of plants, and you can find fungi as well. Now I'm here on the edge of the woods. Back to Eden gardening mimics a natural system, and in the natural world, Back to Eden gardening says the soil is never naked. It's always covered, whether it's with dried, rotted leaves that fell in the fall or small plants that just spring up wherever there's bare ground. Here's a section of soil. It's covered with leaves. It prevents erosion, and then you look down here and you can see that there's fungal activity breaking down these leaves. And the soil, this is not particularly rich soil, but the soil down here is relatively loose, and there's a nice topsoil here. This is not the richest spot by any means, but the soil here is just full of life. We are using the Back to Eden idea in our orchard. We're covering it with wood chips to enrich the soil and keep the weeds and grass down. Every load and even every scoop of wood chips that I bring onto our property, I feel like it's an investment, because every bit of wood chips is going to enrich the soil for actually years to come. So the question is, can I sneak up on a catnapping cat? Let's try. So she heard me snap a little twig and jumped awake. It looks like it's going to rain, but I'm going to try to put in a couple fence posts before it rains. So there's two reasons that we're not doing really Back to Eden gardening proper. One is we've had really a lot of trouble getting wood chips, and the other is that we want to garden this year, and Back to Eden gardening on a large scale really is kind of a multi-year thing, and we want to garden starting now. As far as not being able to get wood chips out here, I think it has to do with the fact that we're in a rural area. There's just less power lines out here. And the other thing about that is there's way more free places to dump wood chips on the side of the road and in empty land. And so, you know, none of these companies want to drive to dump chips. So the problem is not really moving them or anything, it's just really the quantity that we need. I think I calculated we would need 66 cubic yards to cover this area. And that doesn't sound like too much, but my truck really holds 1 cubic yard, so 66 trips down the road and back. That's something I can do with time, but it's not something I can do in a snap. So the other thing is that we feel like if we want to have a really great garden this year, that plowing it is the very best option. And it's really the best way to start it towards no-till is by tilling. And how does that make sense? Well, we're just breaking the ground this first time, and then we'll end up top mulching heavily and moving towards Back to Eden in the years to come. You need to get out of the way. Move out of the way. Come over here. Wow, this is a really rocky spot I picked here. Now, I think you can use chickens to expedite the process of Back to Eden gardening, and that's what Justin Rhodes has done. I like to call his method chickens in Eden. So that's really what I want to do, is experiment with a couple methods. And in one area, we'll just use our tilled soil and then mulch it at the end of the year. In another area, do really a Back to Eden experiment, and then also do Justin's chickens in Eden in a section at the top. I was just watching the baby, and he actually went out of sight right here. next to me at the corner of the house, so that's where I'm going. Well, that may be all that I vlogged for the day. Thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate all your shares and your likes and your support and your comments, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Another great day on the homestead.